Hello, everyone. Come to Conversation with Giel. And our guest today, Gattiek Wichar, a member of the SPLM political party. We will discuss the situation that is unfolding from the first vice president, from all the conflict that are happening in the Upper Niles and across the country. So with us here is Gattiek, as I mentioned earlier, and I would love him to introduce himself better because I don't have the words and the vocabularies to describe what he truly stands for. Mr. Gattiek, could you please tell us who you are and what you stand for?
Well, thank you so much, Brother Gill, for having me on your show. Gattiek Wichar, SPLM Youth League spokesperson. I'm a committee member of my party. I'm a simple man. I'm a lawyer by profession. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, good to have you. Thank you, Gattiek, for such a simple and humble introduction. Now we will go into our conversation of tonight, and I would love to ask you a very simple and direct question. Right now, the situation in South Sudan is completely out of control, and with political chaos, military chaos across the country. So, and many people right now, or some people, it appears that in Juba, uh, members within the SPLMIO has come out to declare that they have, elected an interim leader, considering the fact that the leader has been house arrested. So, what do you think about that? Could you tell the citizen what does that mean, and how does that represent the SPLMIO as a political party?
Well, thank you so much. So, to answer to your question, I would say what has happened in Juba uh, by some or few of our members is very unfortunate. In the struggle, for those who knows history, it has never happened that when your leader is arrested and then you go and turn around, turn behind him. So instead, you're supposed to be working hard on how your leader can be out. And even if you are in a situation where you are pushed between, hard and rock, you have to stand your ground so that you don't give up on the mission that we have already started. To describe what has happened, I think those who organized that gathering in Farm Africa are few of us from our party who have just given up. But for them to justify it, the surrendering, so they have to come up with that strategy of confusing the public that we have decided to do a new interim leadership that will advocate for the release of Sherman, which is totally nonsense. It is a surrendering tactic that should be treated with utmost contempt it deserves. So this is exactly what has happened, and it has no impact to the mainstream party under the leadership of the SPLMIO, who is now getting it guidance from Right Honorable Nasanel, Right Honorable Oyet Nasanel, who is the acting chairman of the SPLMIO and acting commander-in-chief of our forces at the moment. So the party is intact, and the members are still in place, loyal to the iconic leader, Dr. Riek Machar.
And the same thing is like history is repeating itself right now. Now, in 2016, if I could remember, something similar happened, but this time it is that the leader of the SPLMIO had been arrested. But before, it was like a faction led by General Taban Dengai did the same thing in 2016 when the conflict broke out. And after your leader, Dr. Riek Machar, was fled out of Juba, he declared to be the leader of the SPLM-IO, and that he is for peace, just like what is happening right now. So, do you think the same situation that happened in 2016 could repeat itself again, and that the peace deal that has been signed is going to collapse, or do you think the leader of the SPLM-IO is going to be released, and with the condition of the process uh, is still, continuing?
The situation in Juba depends on the intention of our partner. Our chairman, Dr. Riek Machar Teny, when he came to Juba, he was not a war captive. He was not captured during the war, where certain people can say now we arrest him at will. I think that is not the case. He came for peace. Actually, according to the agreement, there should be first unification of forces before the formation of the Archigono. But because our chairman is a peace-loving person that has country in heart, and given the fact that also the international community in the region also persuaded him to go to Juba for peace, he came. Actually, he came just to implement the agreement. Uh, Today, if it happened that uh, some of our or our fees partner, it says SPLM IG, want to take the advantage of having not accepted the unification of forces before the formation of the agreement. So we can describe that as a cowardice, act that a true leader should not do. The leader of the SPLM-IO is in Juba because of fees, and we think his arrest is a serious violation, not only to the agreement but also to the morals. The moral values that someone that you also is under your protection and you arrest him for what? So this one is what we see. Uh, as a negative, impact from our peace partner. Actually, to question the status of the newly breakaway groups, we don't call it faction, by the way, because they have not reached the level where Gerald Taban reached to in 2016. The situation of Gerald Taban and the situation of these four newly or these four groups, the four members actually that form this group, uh, they have no support, whether in the youth, whether in the army, whether in the civilian. Even they don't have any endorsement anywhere. So this is totally different from the situation of Gerald Taban. And I'm sure even if they have given a position of the first vice president, they won't get anyone. And even for the SPLMIG to decide that also is a serious violation, because His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar also is the one mentioned in the agreement. Even the fees, the current fees is totally different from 2016, the way it has been designed, because the priest grantors knows very well that this scenario could also happen in future. Like now, some members who have just given up from a struggle are trying to do the same, but it wouldn't work at the end of the day. And even if it work out as a matter of violation from the SPLMIG, there will be no any support from civil population, from a political forces in the country, and the military aspect of it. So they don't have any ground. This is what I would say about them. So their declaration is nothing. It has no any impact. It has no any. We just treat it as something very small to us. So if the agreement is going to fail, of course is failing, not because some members have defected from the SPLMI, but it can fail because of the bad intention from the partner, which is the SPLMIG. It's because the SPLMIG is now dragging its feet on the implementation. You might be aware of all violation they have made. Unilateral decision they have made relieving our appointees without our consent. So these are the kind of things that are, at the end of the day, can, jeopardize the agreement.
All right. I think following the peace agreement and with everything that happened with it, I remember clearly in 2018, before the RCSS was signed, President Salva Kiir, when he came back, he had about, if I'm not mistaken, 16 or 19 reservations. Were those 16 or 19 reservations not assigned, or were they assigned that had been ignored by your chairman or the leadership of the SPLM has liked?
Yes, in the peace agreement, you have a right to reserve certain things, but there are key elements, or there are key provisions that you cannot ignore, that are connected to the life of people, that are connected to security, stability, and the end game of the agreement itself, such as election, constitutional making, and repatriation of refugees and all this. So you can ignore the better, or the thing that are not serious about the agreement, because the agreement cannot be 100% implemented. But at least you have a key provision that are cornerstone of the agreement that ought to be implemented within the letter and the spirit, such as the chapter 2 of the agreement that talk about the security arrangement, because this one now is the root cause is lack of implementing this chapter 2, or dragging feet on the aid implementation, is what brought all this chaos in the country. Because having a unified forces in the country reduce risk of violent and kind of situation which is now happening. I believe the agreement has a key provision, and one of those provisions is the implementation of the peace agreement and the constitutional making, a permanent constitution that take country to election at the end of transitional period. Yes.
And how long was the transitional period per the agreement?
So far, it has been extended, I think, twice.
What,
Uh, Twice or three times, yeah. At the moment, it was given a two years lifespan. It was 2 years. This one is going to end in. It's supposed to go to election in 2026,
yeah.
as per the roadmap. Yeah. But looking at the thing at the moment, how things are unfolding, so there is a clear intention from peace partner SPLM, that they are not ready for election. Because if you are ready for election, and then there's no need where you create a situation where stability is very expensive to achieve. You need to create a situation where you have a conducive environment, like unification of forces, deployment of unified forces, and all this, and also injecting a budget and good fund for constitutional making process. uh, uh, there is a clear sign that our peace partner is not ready for election, and they want to create this situation. And to make the matter worse, they create this situation and also create them as an excuse, that they later on shift to other people. This is a situation which South Sudan is currently had.
President Salva Kiir in the past few months have worked so hard and ordered reliefs of so many cabinet members, from ministers to MPs to governors. Uh, that is a peace agreement. So, do you think if there is any another chance for the peace or for the ARCCSS to be implemented again in a brand new way, do you think people should continue the same way that they are going right now, or there could be another changes that could be done?
Uh, in our position at the party, SPLM has been consistently, advocating for the implementation. And our chairman himself has involved himself in pushing that. He's on record, and he issued many statements calling for implementation. And he also questioned, when necessary, things that are not moving well. Uh, as a party, we cannot, read the mind of our partner. From our side, we are very clear. We are for full implementation of the agreement. That was what brought us to Juba. Otherwise, there's nothing that would bring our chairman to Juba if it was not for peace. So he came for peace, and that is
Yeah,
the peace that he want to be implemented in peace and in letter and in spirit. Because we know implementing the agreement lead to election.
yeah.
So
Can
also exit the country from this, persistent transitional government.
yeah? Can I make a clarification on this?
Mm, welcome.
What whether because the peace agreement has been a situation of up and down since it had been signed in 2018. So there had been so many, extension. And the reason for this extension is, the situation within itself from unilaterally removing the cabinet members that belongs to the opposition, from violating the agreement, from not unifying the forces in a rapid way, from not equipping them with ammunitions and the military equipment that are necessary. So, do you think right now the situation that the peace has been going for the past, I don't know, 6 years or 7 years right now, do you think the same path that it had been going through, if things are to be taken back to the same path again, do you think it is something that the movement would take or the movement would reject it and another process for the implementation of the peace agreement?
Yeah, this is left to the leadership of the party. What I know so far at the party, we are for peace,
Okay.
and this is what brought us to Juba. But should the party also try to come up with another decision, this is something that would be a different story. But what I know so far, as a party, we can never go, for a sham election. We can never allow ourselves to be dragged into election. That is knowing that at the end of the day will not reflect the voice of people. Election that is being manipulated, we cannot go for that election. That's why we know that before election there are prerequisites, such as the constitution, the unification of forces, the census, and all this. So you need to also, as a opposition, need to ensure that all these key provision, are implemented, so that when there is an election, there is no forced election violence. So you need to ensure that there is a smooth transition. You get this is exactly where we're standing for as the SPLM. But also, considering all past mistake, should the party later on also decide? I cannot say I would say something about it, because the party has a political bureau, in which are the young people in the party were also represented. So these boys also will be out if this one is going to happen. But what I know so far, we are just calling for our partner to be committed as much as we do in the SPLMIO, so that we implement the agreement, and we take our people, to election that end all this transition and this kind of shenanigans. Yes.
That's very impressive. And one more question would be, do you think the international communities, the IGAD and the African Union, have let the people of South Sudan down?
Well, I I wouldn't say them in general terms, but I would say some. At the moment, the international community is doing its best, but I would blame some
Which
countries in IGAD.
IGAD?
Yes, IGAD a little bit is not, up to it. It's not. is not living in up to its best, is not doing what is expected of it by the people of South Sudan. Because IGAD is a grantor of the peace, and as you might also heard that some IGAD countries have intervened in the conflict, and you have foreign forces in the country right now. I think this is not a goodwill. This is something that we should not encourage, because IGAD should be advocating for stability, peace, and security in the region instead of fueling. Some countries of IGAD, and the example is Uganda. You have Ugandan forces now in South Sudan. What are they doing in South Sudan? This is exactly a fueling of crisis in the country. So if IGAD has nothing to offer, if IGAD has nothing to offer for peace and stability, at least they should leave us alone as South Sudan, and we handle ourselves through dialogue instead of meddling in, into our own affairs. I would not say international community, and I would not say IGAD as general, but few member states have deeply involved in fueling the situation in South Sudan, and this is very unfortunate. This is something that has to be called out and condemned. Yes.
And concise. One more question that goes directly to you as a politician and as a youth, because clearly you're young, maybe under 30s or within your early 30s. So, what do you think is the future of youth politics in South Sudan? In few sentences, what do you think?
Well, the future of South Sudanese youth uh, is actually something depend on what the youth are doing right now. It depends on the progressive decision the young people are taking at the moment. It depends on the voices that the youth represent in the country. What I know so far, youth are facing a lot of challenges in the country. And South Sudanese youth constitute 72% of the country's population. It means the country belongs to young people. And at the end of the day, they are the victim of whatever happened, whether it is a social, political, and any cultural crisis, it affects youth. So young people in South Sudan are really going through a lot. They are suffering. Uh, but sometimes difficult situation make uh, someone decide a better future. So in the middle of difficulties, sometimes you emerge victorious. You go and create yourself. You make a best decision. I would say the future is bright despite the odds that young people are facing at the moment. Because at the end of the day, what you do today is what determines your future. Because this kind of, politicking and violence in the country, and many mess are a short-lived event. Time will come where things will be normal, but this one need the hard work from young people themselves. So they should not treat the politics as something that can be run by the whole class, the elders. So it is something that we all as the young people have to involve ourselves in, so that we become also part of decision making that are affecting our life in one way or another.
Now there is an uprising across the country from the west to the east, from the south to the north, where communities, armed groups are fighting, attacking each other. And now there are news that in the next few days, the state or the town of Malakal could fall at any moment. So, do you think Dr. Riek Machar is the right person to be released and stop all these things that are happening?
Yes, this is a good question. Actually, when Dr. Riek Machar was arrested in Juba, there were false charges. Fabrication was designed that he was the one having hand on the crisis in the Nasser, and the the situation where the confrontation between White Army and South Sudan People Defense Force. This brings us back to what we have already exhausted, that unification of forces is necessary. It's something very good because White Army are actually fighting their way out. They don't receive any directive from anyone in the country. I don't think so, except with the immediate family members. Because why? You have a situation where South Sudan went to crisis in 2013 that took ethnic lines. Then now for you to put a country together and having a peace in place, you need to have a unified forces that are trusted by citizens. South Sudan People Defense Force is predominantly, run by a certain elements, a certain section of the country, and and uh, and also receive orders, from perceived element again. Now, if you send such forces to a specific area, they cannot be trusted by the civilian, and I think this is what is unfolding and has caused the situation, provoked the situation that become too violent and unbearable in the country. So you need to have a forces that reflect the national identity, so that when you move them to a certain area, so all citizens are going to see themselves in those forces. This is exactly something that also as a party we advocate for. Now our chairman he cannot stop the war because he own or he command a white army. But for as an elder, because he's not only a politician, he also a elder, he's a community leader, he's highly respected. He's known as a man of peace. So if he advise, he can just offer his, advice as elder that just stop that, let have a peace, like he was trying to do in the case of the late Gerald Majur, that was unfortunately, killed during evacuation process. So he tried his best. And if, because the publication was done that he was the one having hand in the fighting now he has been in detention for almost a month now. So why the situation persists? Why the violence is still ongoing? So
That's the
this also tells that any charges or any publication designed against him is a politically motivated charges. So the arrest is actually unjustified. Yes, is unjustified, and if he is released, he can use his voice as an elder, as a leader in the country. So maybe I can say maybe this one can stop, and maybe cannot stop because the forces that are engaging the SPDF now are not IO forces. If they are IO forces, yes, the SPLM leader Dr. Mashar can stop them because they receive orders directly from him. But White Army is a separate entity, is a civilian armed groups that are defending their territories, that have their own, grievances with the system. So they have no any connection with the leader of the party.
so many people have said that Dr. Riek Machar have hand in all this conflict, and I believe now anyone can understand for themselves, with Riek Machar being put in detentions and his all devices confiscated. That means everything that is happening in South Sudan was not upon his hand or his decision. It is something that unfolds because of injustice and the political uh, uh, manipulation that is happening in the country. So, Mr. Gattiek, thank you for joining me today. Had conversation with Gel Malwal, and it is really, really a valuable time that we have had with you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome.